Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. The podcast that you know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Try your headphones.
There we go. Look at Jerry getting
Do we
fancy.
sound better now?
Well, it will, I think.
Okay.
Oh. Plug it in.
There. Yeah.
Test. 1, 2, 1, 2.
What's
That's
up?
my.
Oh,
Wow.
there we go.
Was Jerry a good boy at the dentist today?
He was.
All right. Whoa. Oh, he accidentally clicked out. Jerry Reynolds, our old pal, the OG. I mean, name a role within the Kings organization. He did it at one point.
Okay.
I don't know if he actually was a janitor or anything
I
like
was gonna
that.
mention-
or
or even
the
an-
popcorn person.
Or an ambassador. Because I think Jerry actually would have executed all these jobs at a very high level. You were great at everything, Jerry.
Well, the job I really wanted and never got was to be Slamson.
Oh,
But by the time it took a little more athleticism than I had But and I will say this seriously, I think Slamson is the best mascot in the league. I have for years, and I mean he's and I've seen them all.
Yeah.
I've seen them all, but I mean Kings fans I know appreciate him and really enjoy him, but they don't totally know just how good he is.
I'm glad we're starting there, Jerry.
this is actually going to be the whole podcast because let's break down Slamson. I agree.
Yeah, we're not talking about Keegan Murray and the Kings in the offseason. We're going to spend some time talking about Slamson. No, honestly, Slamson is so elite. And I think what makes him special, Jerry, is his ability. He doesn't have to rely on like jumping through fire or crazy. Like he's just really good at strutting around. And you could read what he's saying without him. He's the best mime out there.
That's what I was going to say. So obviously mime work, there's a lot of facial expression, a lot of different type of body language. But I feel like Slamson does such a fantastic job of shaking his hips, really using his arms, utilizing whatever body part he can do to make you feel a certain emotion. And usually that emotion is like, oh, this is exciting. This is making me feel better. We are so on board with Slamson as the best mascot out there.
Well, good. We're all in agreement. And like I say, I came to appreciate him, even more during the real bad years.
Oh,
Because he was good every night when the team was crappy. And, you could, really, and you could enjoy him every night when you couldn't possibly enjoy the team. And, now the team's good, it probably makes his work a little easier. So we may have to tell the ownership to maybe cut his salary a little bit now that the team is.
okay, Jerry, if this Slamson retires ever, so like this Slamson, like, oh, he dies off, like this, he's gone,
Yeah, okay.
Do they have to do a new mascot costume outfit thing for the new person that's in there?
I actually like that idea.
I think they should.
Yeah.
I really do.
Okay.
Actually, they ought to hang a lion fur up there or something. I don't know. I mean, really, who's had brought more joy than he has over the years, more so than any player, really. But so anyway, But I think it'd be almost disrespectful to have another lion. You can come up with some other. Other character, I think.
Well, the good news, Slamson's still in his prime. I don't think we have to worry about that for a while.
He's got some good years left, but he's like an athlete, man. When it starts going, he may only have 3 or 4 top years, and if we see a slippage, we'll have to tell him.
Yeah, we'll have to start looking. I don't know what the next mascot would be. We'd have to come up with that. Jerry, it's been too long since we talked to you. We miss you, and it's crazy. The King season is almost here. But last year was so fun. And I'm curious from your perspective, totally different perspective than you've been used to over most of your career. You get to enjoy it at home. If the game's bad, you could just turn it off if you want. But last year, there wasn't a lot of turning off the game. What made last year special in your eyes?
Well, as you said, it was such a fun team to watch. And I honestly, I don't know when, I have to go back to 98 or 99 when the team turned to where I look forward to games so much. I'd be in front of my TV waiting for the game, and couldn't wait, basically, and watch the whole thing. I mean, I don't think I ever turned off the team this year. And I think a lot of it, besides, obviously they got some talented players, but they were really unselfish.
Yes.
I don't think there's ever been a Kings team this unselfish. I really mean that. And certainly we've had some that were unselfish teams, but this I thought was just remarkable, and really a big reason why they were able to do what they did, because as good as their talent was, I'm not sure it was quite as good as how they performed.
Yeah, that's, you talk about them being unselfish and how fun that is to watch around the league, right? I mean, think about all the times when we were talking about the Golden State Warriors and how they've obviously having Steph and Clay and everyone executing the final play, making the shot. It's fun to see. Offense is sexy. We get it. But really seeing that style come from a team, and a team that you weren't expecting it from. Now, I know it's a little bit of both. Obviously, Mike Brown, the way that he coaches, and the players and the talent that they have on the squad. But where do you see that unselfishness really, really excelled?
I thought a lot of it came from Sabonis, to be honest. I think, he's a kind of a one of one, obviously a lot like Jokic. He's not nearly as good as Jokic. We all know that. But his, they just, when they run the offense through him, and I mean, I'll say this for the guy, I've never seen a big set so many good screens per game. I mean, screening is a skill, and he's the best in the league, the absolute best in the league. And like I say, just they were able, and then plus his stamina. Have you ever seen a big run the floor as hard as he does every play, every night? I'm just taken aback. I've said many times, I mean, he certainly doesn't have the talent of Chris Webber, but actually he's as productive in a different way, maybe more productive in a different way. So I think it starts there. And then the fact that when your two stars, Sabonis and Fox, are such high class people, I mean, you're not talking about I need to be traded, or I need to be used different, or I need this and I need that. It's really refreshing in 2023 for sure, as we see most teams don't have that luxury.
Yeah, you talk about Sabonis kind of setting the standard out there with how he plays. It's really impressive, because I think the rest of the team feeds off that too. Like, even with the Kings' shortcomings defensively that we'll talk about later, I don't think we ever watched the Kings this year and thought they lost because of a lack of effort. Like, Sabonis plays 110% all the time. He had the hand injury. He could have had surgery. He decides not to get it. And I feel like those things, it's almost unspoken leadership. It's like, no, this is just what I do out there. I go out there. I'm one of the best guys. If I'm playing this hard, everybody can play this hard.
Oh, I think so. I think there is a carryover, and I just like unselfishness, it makes guys who normally might be looking for their own stats a little less likely when other people are looking for them. And so there's a carryover. And I think a lot of it goes back to the coach. I think Mike Brown, they couldn't have hired a more perfect guy for this team. And certainly he was wise enough to see how Sabonis should be and could be used, which is a little bit out of the box. I wasn't surprised with that, because I'd watched Sabonis a lot in Indiana for a lot of different reasons. And I saw his skills. I mean, it's like, people saying, oh, it's kind of like Sabonis became good when he got here. No, he was really good there. Really good. And so anyway, it's a combination of things. But yeah, with the leadership of the Kings now, Monte McNair has just done I think a marvelous job. I think he's got a lot of the same great characteristics that Jeff Petrie had. Of course, Princeton guys, they don't say anything without thinking it through, as opposed to people like us where we just bullshit.
I think it's a great point, because I've been telling Deuce this. I think obviously all of us have been watching this team, covering this team over these last few years. And even before this regime, it always felt like even Vlade, like he wanted to bring in nice guys, and it seemed like there was nice guys, but there wasn't enough nasty on the floor, right? What I feel like what Monte McNair's been able to do is find those nice guys, like good people, but then they're willing to be nasty on the floor. They're willing to do whatever it takes to get that playing time, to make each other better. They have these different type of mindsets, and in the type of person he goes for, he's very consistent with. And I think that alone has not only been obviously special for these players to play with, but I think for us watching, I think that's made it a little bit more fun too.
Oh, couldn't agree more. And, I think Monte, no question, and his staff really have a good feel for putting a team together. And that's a big part of it. I mean, you always want a team with chemistry, but it helps if you actually add guys that you are pretty confident would be that type of player. And Mo, you make a great point on this. You want good, nice young men off the floor and before the game and after, and you need a little shitbird.
Yes.
Once the game starts.
Yep.
And I think we've got some pretty tough buckaroos, and and could stand a couple more, by the way. But that's
sure.
But that's you got to have that. You got to have that. And I always say that when the ball goes up, your personality has to change. You can be you ought to be a good sportsman before and after, but during the game, you might hurt somebody's feelings. You just might.
Yeah. I also love what Mike Brown's done to kind of reshape this culture pretty fast. You know what I mean? And we hear that so much, like, we got to change the culture. We got to do this. I felt like Mike Brown did a great job of like, no, I'm coaching these guys. We're going to have accountability, but we're going to be together. And one thing that he had talked about was the fact that he could coach, because he could coach Fox and Sabonis so hard, it allowed him to coach everybody else that way. And so it's crazy, like, how important everything is. Like, we talk about Monte McNair and bringing in the right guys, and it's up to the coach to be able to put something together that is credible, and then the players to buy in. So you need all of that to come together. And I felt like it came together fast. I thought this chemistry with a new group and a new coaching staff really came together fast.
Well, it sure did, and you make a good point. We all hear change of culture. You about want to spit up sometimes.
Yeah, we heard that a lot over the years.
and I, over the years, I think the best way of changing culture is win.
Yeah.
That's the best way. But I'll say this for Mike Brown. I thought one of the greatest things was starting off 0-4. Oof. I wasn't sure, really, he hung with things and stayed with guys. And, of course, I think he had the knowledge and confidence that it was going to turn, and it did. But I think there would be some coaches, especially, in their first stint, might have panicked and changed lineups and all that sort of thing. So, obviously the players themselves are always more important than probably the coach, but the coach is very important. And Mike Brown he deserved everything he got. I'll tell you that. He there's no doubt he was coach of the year.
So who is Jerry Reynolds' favorite Sacramento Kings player right now?
Of all time?
No. Just of this current team.
Okay.
Oh, this current team.
Oof.
Well, it's hard to say. I think it could be Keegan Murray. It could be Keegan Murray, but it's getting close. I just like the kid. I just love the way he plays and how he controls his emotions and all. I think I loved his game in college, and I just, like I've said before, and I think on the King's Herald, I said, I think Keegan was a better rookie than Peja Stojakovic.
Wow.
And people say, "Wow, I said, look at the stats.
Yeah.
Keegan was better this year on a more of a winner than Peja was as a rookie, or even in his second year.
Wow.
He still didn't have the year that Keegan had this year. Now, is Keegan going to be better than Peja in 5 years? I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say that he won't be either.
Yeah.
And, looking at the California Classic, I mean, I know if Wembanyama had played in it, he'd been the second best player in it. How's that?
I
true.
like that.
But I mean, I think the world of the kid, and you can clearly see how the fans, the Keegan Murray, that's so neat. Now, of course, I just admire Sabonis so much just because of all the things we've already said. And then with Fox, I really do believe, and I got into a little trouble, and I shouldn't have. I'd made a statement about Fox. I said he will be the best guard in Sacramento Kings history. Well, there's no doubt in my mind that's going to be the case. And I had some fans, they didn't pay very close attention. They said, "You mean to tell me that you don't remember Oscar Robertson?"
Oh.
I said, look, I'm not comparing. I will never compare anybody to Oscar Robertson.
Yeah.
And that includes De'Aaron Fox. But Oscar played for the Cincinnati
Thank you,
Royals.
Jerry. We don't.
He did not
we're talking
play
about
for the
Sacramento
Kings.
Yeah.
And I'd have a tough time even saying, Nate Archibald, who played for the Kansas City Kings, because I remember Nate at his best, and Nate at his best so far was better than De'Aaron's been.
Wow.
But Nate, injuries took a toll on him, and hopefully that won't be the case with De'Aaron. But anyway, I'll stand with Sacramento Kings. De'Aaron will be the best by far, and maybe creep into Nate Archibald territory. But De'Aaron, no. Oscar Robertson, no.
Sure. Yeah, we don't count those in the Sacramento era. So you're talking about just guards, period. You're even with Mitch and wow.
Yes.
Well,
yes. Even with Mitch, Reggie Theus was a terrific talent. I mean, Bibby, Jay Will. I mean, whoever you want to talk about, but I think he'll surpass those guys.
What
he has in most cases has already.
What elevates him in your mind? Like, why is he?
What separates him? Yeah.
Well, his speed and quickness is just off the charts, and I mean he's one of those guys. I've always said that between the free throw lines, he creates numbers because he's going to get past somebody. He's just faster. And so, and then his ability, and I thought used it this year. We'd even talked about it in the past, of his ability to just the defenders will give him so much space because he's so quick and fast. They'll give him the 15-foot shot. And we saw that in clutch time so much. In other words, just the threat of him getting all the way to the basket. And Nate Archibald was like that. I always remember that. I mean, Nate was one of the guys big guys, they'd about break their ankles getting backwards because Nate, and then he'd stop on a dime and knock down whatever he wanted. And De'Aaron has that same ability where the defenders just have to give him a lot of space, much like a great wide receiver in football, that they can always, take the 8-yard gain, because of all the space and remarkable speed and quickness, and shooting's getting better.
Yeah.
Shooting. He's a good playmaker, but he's not really he's a scorer who can make plays.
Yeah.
And I think that is the part of the game, that Mike Brown has allowed him to flourish in, I think, which is very important.
I think too, one of the things we've talked about is, his speed is crazy, but his change of speed now, like he could slow you down, and that's jarring for a defender, a guy that can speed you up like crazy, can blow by you, but can also slow down and create. And that was something he's kind of perfected over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, it is. It's been a work in progress, I think, and we've seen every year kind of something added to his game. I thought last year a lot of it just came together, and as you pointed out, I mean, yeah, he's very comfortable, you know, in situations where he's got to go get a shot. That he's got the floater. He's able to finish at the basket so much better, and and I think too, I thought spent a lot of his time in earlier years kind of begging for calls. I mean, you're always going to beg for calls, but he spends more time or less time doing that, and more time just finishing.
He was like looking, I mean, obviously young, but looking for the foul rather than looking to finish early on in his career. And then finally, when he wasn't getting the respect that he deserved, he fought back a little bit like this last year. And I appreciated that, because it's like, yeah, you're doing everything you can do now in your power to do the right thing. And if they're not doing their job, sure, then you can bitch back, do what you want to do. But talking about what separates him and what elevates him over all these guards in, Kings history and everything, you mentioned him being clutch. And I know we keep talking about his speed to stop pop, get where he wants. But truly, Jerry, the fact that at the end of the game, for the most part, that the ball is going to be in his hands, and he's still able, this whole last year, even with film on him and everything, was able to get what he wanted and make the shot too. Finally finish the shot this last year too. I mean, that just takes a whole different mindset. That's a whole different mentality.
Yeah, it really is. And the other part is that, it's one thing about mindset and all that, but he had the ability to do it.
Yes.
I mean, of course, I'm old enough to remember, Michael Jordan, and I'm not comparing him to Michael Jordan, don't get me wrong. But I mean, he's kind of a mini version, because late in games, I mean, Michael could get what he wanted, when he wanted, how he wanted, and you knew what he's going to do, and you couldn't do a damn thing about it. And yet he was unselfish in those times. He would give the ball up if he needed to help win. Well, De'Aaron's the same way. He's not selfish. He's going to take, he's going out there to take a shot if it's there, and really make the defense react to him, take over the game. And then maybe the other part of it is, here again, Coach Brown, Sabonis, all these guys, the coach knows, hey, this is Fox time. We're putting the ball in his hands, and the other players, hey, we want the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
And, and you can't, it just can't work if you don't have that. And they clearly have that.
I want to go back to talking about Keegan for a second, because you said he might be your favorite Kings player right now. He had a really fun rookie year, and we've talked about how valuable the experience for him was last year, because most lottery picks, and we've seen it in Sacramento, go into losing situations. They lose a lot of games, or if you're on a good team, you're probably not playing a lot. Well, he's a lottery pick that was starting, played in the playoffs, got better toward the end of the playoffs against the Golden State Warriors. What type of upside do you see in his game? Like, what stands out to you and maybe makes you believe that he could turn into a very, very good player in the NBA?
Well, I think you hit on a little bit. I'll go back to the fact when we first saw him in summer league as a rookie, and early on in summer league he wasn't very good, and as the summer league went on, he got better. And by the end of summer league, he was quite good, And then last year, at the start of the season, he struggled. He'd go games without a rebound, and there'd be some murmuring. Well, I don't know, yeah, blah blah. Exactly. But as the year went along, he just got better and better and better. And then the same thing with the playoffs. Start off maybe a little. Playoffs are different. It's a lot more physical, as we see. The refs let stuff go, which I like, by the way.
Yes.
Makes a better game, really. But he struggled early, and then as the thing went on, he was getting better while others maybe weren't. And I think that's to me, that's it. I mean, if he can just continue to do that, and then we saw in the California Classic, he was trying to do things that he hadn't done before, and he did them. And so that, I think there's just so many reasons, but I think it goes back to the fact that the guy kind of gets it. Okay, this, and not looking for somebody to blame or point for, okay, I've got to do more of this. And like I say, he went from being a terrible rebounder to pretty good. And so that's yeah. Anyway, a lot to be positive about.
I'm with you because Morgan, that's one thing with Keegan is you think about how productive he was last year as pretty much a catch and shoot guy.
Right.
And he set the rookie record for threes. If he just adds a little more to his game, if he could put the ball on the floor, he could finish inside, rebound a little better. You start thinking about what that could mean for the Kings offense.
Yeah, that
was already good last year.
And we keep mentioning this too, like in his rookie year, that's what he added as an individual. So not only him as an individual takes, let's say, a leap, but the team takes a leap, adding some of these guys. But this is the thing I always go to, Jerry, and I mean, tell me if I'm weird or wrong. But
well, you are weird.
I am weird, but usually right.
Glad you said
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I look at this sophomore year for Keegan, and I go, a lot more teams are gonna have this film on him, are gonna know his game a little bit more. I know he's starting to put the ball on the floor, but are they gonna find his weakness of which way he likes to go more? All those little things, and then I'm curious if his game doesn't take that leap that not only that we all want to see it take, our expectations. Are you going to feel disappointed? Or are you still going to feel like, okay, this was that learning year that he needed to now take a leap?
Well, I'd be disappointed.
Okay.
But I also wouldn't, cash in my chips on him because, I mean, a lot of times, as you pointed out, and you're exactly right, is that second year, guys, believe it or not, the league scouts, and they come up with plans to try to do once they see a player a few times. So I think his game, it'll get a little tougher for him to get those spot up threes and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But having said all that, I fully expect him to take a leap, and of course, I'm one of those that maybe has been a little outspoken, but I think his best position is small forward. Going forward, that's where he's going to really. That's his spot. I mean, I think he, is playing a little out of position as a four. To be honest with you, he did a nice job there, but that's to me, small forward is where he's going to be, and I think could be an all-star level small forward. But this year, if he takes a step, then that's in the works. If he just kind of levels off, doesn't change anything. Well, I always say, I just use Page as an example. I mean, Page's first or second year, he improved, but didn't knock you didn't see several time all-star.
Sure.
At that time, you saw, this kid's going to be good type thing.
We've got more with Jer Bear coming up, but we should mention that today's podcast presented by the one and only T.R. Reagan. She's a New York Times best-selling author, and if you like thrillers, well, buckle the hell up.
Buckle up.
She's dark. She's twisted. You should read her books, Morgan.
Yeah, you probably should read her books. You can find them on Amazon.com or go to trreagan.com. I'm telling you, they are some of the best stories I ever read, and it's weird because it took me 15 years to read them because I was too scared, and now I sleep with one eye open. So enjoy.
We're also presented today by East Sac Fitness. If you're looking for a place to work out, small boutique gym.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
That is.
You got functional fitness classes and coaches that will guide you through it so you're doing it safely. You don't have to be some weightlifting expert to go there. They also have spin classes, yoga classes, and a recovery room. But that is amazing. Morgan really likes that.
I love it. I need to start doing the cold plunge thing more in there, but I keep going to the sauna, so that's really nice. I love East Sac Fitness. So if you're looking for a place that's like not intimidating, go there.
EastSacFitness.com. Deuce and Mo, we're on
Patreon.com.
/Deuce and Mo.
Deuce and Mo.
If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/Deuce and Mo. What do you get? Well, check it out at patreon.com/Deuce and Mo because you can get merch discounts. We do monthly Q&As, and we even drop our interviews a little early.
Just a little early.
So check it out for all that exclusive content. You're going to what you guys were just talking about with Keegan and defense is playing him differently. I expect that, but I actually think that works better for the Kings offense.
Because the team added and
The Kings have a lot of offensive firepower. And if you're going to spend less time focusing on Sabonis and Fox a little bit because you got to worry about Keegan, it's just going to open up things for this offense that's already unselfish. So I think that would be a great thing. And then if he just adds to it, I think the biggest question I have for him over the next few years is just, can he at the small forward spot defend some of these wings at a solid level, you know? And it's always different for rookies in the NBA, especially defensively. I think he's got the size. I just wonder at times, all right, does he have that lateral quickness to stay with some of these athletic wings?
Yeah, I think that'd be my main concern, to be honest with you. I mean, I think certainly there's some, but there's some guys who really give him trouble. First of all, a lot of them, and nobody can guard them.
True.
But I mean, I think that would be the thing you'll have to be concerned about. I like his length. You know, he's shown he can block shots and react well. He's a good team defender. But I think that'll be the biggest, I think, challenge for him. And, you know, we'll just have to see. You know, I think the other thing I'd say about this team going forward is that the team really doesn't have a lot of guys that create shots for themselves. You know, in other words, I mean, Fox, Monk, really about the only two guys that you can say for sure can create for themselves. I mean, Sabonis to a lesser degree. So I think that would be, you know, that's what they need. Well, they need him to maybe be a little hungrier, thirstier kind of offensive player.
I agree with
that. And it's like run through the motions, right? That's what I like about Mike Brown is that he's like, Sabonis and Fox have the freedom to do what they want on offense. The rest of you run my damn play, run my damn action, like run all the way through, sprint through, don't walk through, go with, you know, an intention, a purpose. Yes. And I think that alone will help this team with having that issue of not having a whole bunch of creators, but then at the same time too, having so many weapons. Sasha Vezenkov. I mean, we haven't really talked about him with you.
I'm excited about Sasha.
We are excited about Sasha. I think everyone is. What are you looking forward to the most?
I think he's going to be an all rookie. I really do. I mean, he's he's got the body of work to prove that. I mean, I think that I'd be surprised if he's not the starter in playing big minutes. Of course, you know, I'm like everybody else. I got an opinion. I think the sooner they probably get Keegan and Sasha on the floor at the same time, have Harrison as off the bench is a really terrific, because I mean he's a great team guy. Can play two spots. It helped his career going forward. Have more years. I think the team will be better. I really, I know it's a little funny, but you know this team was terrific offensively, and not very good defensively. And everybody, including myself, wanted to kind of get more physical guy, up front, this, that, and the other. And I know I'm confident they tried, but you can't get something if they don't want to give it to you, and so. In my mind, what they've done, and I think it may turn out to be semi-genius, is like they're saying, well, we were really about the best offensive team in the league last year. Now we'll be better. We'll just score more. and our defense doesn't have to, if the defense just stays the same or gets slightly better, we're a real serious contender in the West. And I believe that'll be the case. I just think Sasha, and of course, hopefully the improvement from Keegan really makes this team better. And then, of course, you're always hoping for something from Duarte and improvement otherwise. So, I mean, I think it for sure will make him more exciting. I think Sasha, I just watched him, some European stuff. Guy can really shoot, man. I mean,
quick release.
I mean, he's there's a little bit of Chris Mullen in there. I mean, and I don't mean to, tamp it down a little bit out there, but I mean, the guy's a lefty that can really shoot the ball deep and shoot it quick.
Yeah, I look at Sasha, and I'm not trying to overhype it either. I just think bare minimum, he's going to be a really good fit, because in this league, if you can have a guy who could shoot it well from the perimeter, who has size and high basketball IQ, moves without the ball, I go, he's just a perfect fit. Like, he, at bare minimum, he's going to be a good role player for this team. And that to me is an upgrade from what they had last year. And then defensively, I'm with you. I think that was their strategy, is like, look, we're just going to add more shooting then. If we can't check all the boxes, what can we do? Well, you need shooting in this league. Everyone wants to talk about defense, and I'm not trying to diminish defense.
Yeah.
But we know a lot of good defensive players who don't play in the playoffs because what? Oh, they can't shoot. And then they don't get guarded. So I think the thought is, can this team with high basketball IQ guys on the squad in a second year with Mike Brown be better defensively? And the number that I want to throw at you, Jerry, is they were 8th in defensive rating on the road last year, which is crazy. And they were 27th at home. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. But I also look at it where I saw better stretches of them in the playoffs too. They weren't soft, you know. That 7-game series against the Warriors, they weren't making shots like they were used to. You know, in fact, they were really cold, but they stayed in the game because, you know, except game 7, they rebounded all right and they played hard and played well defensively. I kind of think they can make a jump. What do you make of the whole defensive rating on the road versus home thing from last year?
Well, I've never heard of anything like that. You know?
Thank you. It's weird.
I mean, really. This team truly was better on the road. I've never, you know,
Yeah.
And I think that's why you can be optimistic is because I don't know that they can be that good on the road next year, but I'm confident they'll be better at home. And, you know, and so that gives them all kinds of opportunities. But yeah, as you pointed out, I thought defensively in the playoffs, they were a lot better. Of course, part of it is, and so were the Warriors for that matter, because they let you, you know, the physicalness of the game. So that's part of it. But definitely the team got better. I think, you know, Mike Brown's, you know, doing what he can do there. You know, you don't have, you know, Bill Russell on your team or so, you know, you've got to just kind of do with what you do. But I think the other thing amazing about this team, I'd always said, you can't run if you're taking the ball out of bounds. Well, I found out you can because they did that. I mean, they were so good at getting the ball up and attacking after made baskets. And of course, they, you know, thank God they were because they got a lot of made baskets on them. but they just ran it right up your throat, you know, every possession. I've never seen a team better at that.
And I think too, like you just said, that being something that they're really good at. And let's say somehow their defense does translate into more stops this year. And I know we're talking about individuals right now. And we're like, can Keegan Murray guard at 3? You know, what leap is he going to take there? Sasha, what is he going to look like defensively? I think we keep overlooking as a whole, because this conversation has happened so many times. What about the Kings defense? Biggest question, Kings defense. What about the team defense taking this leap? And I think the importance of this team defense, and when other organizations just throw that out there, like, we want to have a good team defense. If you don't have the buy-in from everyone, if you don't have the right coaching staff, you're not going to get that shit. So with this team and this coaching staff going into year 2, when we saw improvement all the way to the end in the postseason with this King squad, if you're not chopping your feet out there, if you're not 2 steps over and understanding the geometry of the floor, communicating, like, that's not going to fly this year. And everyone hopefully is going to take that step with the team defense. That's where my expectations are. Am I too optimistic?
No, I that would be mine. I mean, I think, and, you know, really adding Sasha is not going to make you better defensively necessarily. But as I think Deuce pointed out, I mean, he's a smart guy. And he has a great instincts for the game, and that's a big part of it. And you know, my only thought there is I just think as we go, as the more Sasha plays or this or that, I really think a zone is something that Coach Brown ought to consider a little more. You know, they played it some, but I just think that's one of those things that if nothing else, it'll help you get out on the break quicker after misses. You know, the floor is set up better. So little things, you know, in other words, it may be, you know, a little tempo change, a little 5 minutes here, a little, you know, then, but you just idea of a team without really stoppers defensively, other than, you know, Davion, you've got to kind of be a little creative there defensively, like you are on offense.
Yeah, that's interesting because I feel like in the last couple of years, more and more teams are playing zone. Miami does a lot of it. We saw a little bit from Sacramento, but it's turned into a thing where coaching staffs are like, you know what, this might be a good way to disrupt the opposing team for a couple of minutes. And if once it starts biting you in the ass a little bit, you can switch back or whatever. But I do think throwing some zone, especially when you're not a great you don't have a whole bunch of great lockdown defenders, is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's as you said, I mean, you're seeing more teams go to that a little bit, and some having success. I mean, it's like anything, you have to kind of everybody buy in, including the coaching staff and players. And I don't think you can play 48 minutes of zone in the NBA. Players are just too good. But I think it's a tempo change, just something that all of a sudden the guys on the other team see something they're not used to. They want to come down and screen and roll or draw and kick. Well, maybe now all of a sudden that's a little harder to do. And or get the ball in the middle, now it's harder to do. If just a few possessions while they're figuring it out may make the difference.
I wanted to ask you about the Kings offense going into this season, because obviously they were so good last year. They were number one in the NBA. The offensive rating stuff gets wild. It seems like every year the team at the top of the NBA is the best offense ever. It's like, but okay, throw that aside. They were really, really elite offense last year. Come the playoffs, teams will expose your weaknesses, right? They played off Sabonis. They were physical. They beat him up. They took away the dribble handoff game. How much should the Kings take away from that and go, okay, maybe we need to diversify a little bit in the regular season, so come playoff time, when we're faced with this, it doesn't throw us off? And before you answer, the other thing I'd mention is there's so much about quick decisions, right? 0.5, make a decision. In the playoffs, you could tell they were thinking a little more because they were getting different looks. So how important is it for them to kind of diversify in the regular season?
Well, I think you make a great point there. I mean, I think they have to have, a little different mindset to realize, well, when it comes to playoffs, you're playing somebody 7 times. They're going to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And they're going to know what you want to do. And their preparation is different than playing Denver one night and Indiana the next night, during the regular season. So I it's like the Sabonis thing. I just thought, honestly, I'll second guess here. But the dribble handball, as you alluded to, was just taken away. And I just wanted them to play more screen roll. Because if they had done that, it'd been really hard for Looney just to lay back in there.
Yes.
You get a lot of screen rolls, and all of a sudden you're making Looney play, and you're probably forcing Curry and those guys to play more. And so just a little thought there. But I think there's things that can be done. Of course, Sabonis should have really shot the ball more.
Take that mid-range shot. Take it.
And he makes it. I mean, it's like, well, he's a 78% free throw shooter, and actually he really not bad from 3. It's one of those things that his mindset probably has to be ready in playoff situations, or it's like, okay, I can do this. And, the coaches will let him do whatever he thinks is best. He never takes really a bad shot per se, or a selfish shot, but in that series, he just turned down too many open shots.
If I may talk a little bit more about Western Conference, about the Warriors and less. That's why I wanted to make sure.
One more playoff question. One more playoff question. When Jerry Reynolds is watching because that was the first time you watched a playoff game at home.
Oh my God.
Right? Because you usually work in them, or you're at the game. When Jerry Reynolds is watching Kings playoff games, are you one of those people who get really into it? Like you're
cussing
yelling,
at the TV,
cussing, getting up, or you just kind of composed watching the game? How does Jerry Reynolds watch the game?
Really, I'm pretty composed, because I really enjoy the game. I'm watching the game, and it's not sad. I don't occasionally yell at officials or yell at Herder for doing this or that, but overall, I think much less than most, because I really, just want to watch the game, in other words, I don't want to, I always say the worst experience watching basketball is go to a sports bar.
Yes.
If you really want to watch the game,
Yeah.
and I mean, and certainly, the fan experience is that. But for me, I honestly, I'd rather be in my lazy boy.
Yeah.
Just 6 foot from my TV and all that. So yeah, it was a great experience for me. I was like to say, I was just taken back to younger years this last season.
I was it's been months, and I was thinking about how I wanted to go back and watch Game 7 because I haven't watched Game 7 back. I was riding such a high after they won Game 6 in the fashion they did. I was convinced they were going to win Game 7 just because of that. But when I kind of reflect back to that series, I'm glad that the first time back was against the Warriors because I think the lessons they learned, we talked about for Keegan, for the whole team, the lessons learned from taking on a team who's done it, who's won it, multiple championships, some of the greats of our game, Steph Curry. I think you could take so much from a 7-game series against them that I think it's going to make the Kings better.
Oh, I do too. And I mean, it's great too that series kind of captured, the basketball world because it was really fun to watch. Two teams, obviously defending champions at that time, and upstart Kings. All the storylines were there, and I'm like you, Deuce. I thought after Game 6, the Kings were going to win. I think looking back, probably one of the worst things happened is Terrence Davis was really key in the Game 6 win. Yeah. And I think Mike Brown kept thinking he was going to be a key in Game 7, but, sometimes, your strength becomes your weakness at sometimes.
Yep. Sorry, one more thing.
Yeah.
That's why it's so big for Davion to knock down shots this year because Davion, I thought, made Curry work. Curry's still going to get his. But I thought early in the series, Davion did such a great job. But if they're not going to guard you,
we saw
on
it
the
happen.
other end, it's going to kill you. It crushes your spacing, especially for a team that was already out of offensive rhythm. And yeah, you're right. Brown went with, hey, let's kind of go with the hot hand. Davis gave us a spark on both ends. Let's see if it works in Game 7. It did not.
Yeah, it was.
I was going to say, I hate to second guess a great coach, but I'm going to. I'd have had Davion on that son of a gun in the second half. I mean, Curry's going to get his, but he might have got 35 instead of 50.
Yeah.
That's all I'd say.
Yeah.
And and I know as a coach, sometimes you're part of what you're going into the game. This is what we're going to do. And certainly I've been guilty of it, where you stay with it too long and you look back and say, damn, I should have done that. And I really do think, because I think Davion, and you're right, Deuce, I mean, he needs to get better shooting the ball. Of course, I get a kick out of reading about how he's working with Curry's shooting coach. And I said, let me tell you something. You know who Curry's shooting coach was? Dell. That's who his shooting coach was. Come on, he's a finished product. By the time he was a junior at Davidson, he just had to get bigger and stronger. But he was already a great.
Oh no!
We
Jerry, what'd you push? What'd you push? Jerry looks great, by the way. I think he looks amazing.
I just don't like how surprised you sound by that.
No, I just think I'm why are you saying it like that? I just think he looks great. Like I bet you walks, he's happy, like he's just looking great.
He's living life, man.
Tahoe.
The retired life, little Tahoe air.
He sounds like him saying, oh, I like walks. I love Tahoe. I want to be on my lazy boy watching the game 6 feet from my TV. I'm like, are you Deuce in 10 years?
Like 50.
Oh,
he's calling now. Hey, Jerry.
Yeah. I don't know what happened, but I can't get back on.
Oh,
maybe,
man.
Maybe Zoom just had let's talk so long, I guess.
What the heck? No, I don't know what happened.
Hey, I think what happened, our Wi-Fi went out.
Ah, okay. All good, Jerry.
Yeah, well, let's see. Well, wait a minute. Maybe it's going to come. Maybe it just came on back.
Okay.
Ooh.
Let's see. Can you hear us, Jer?
All right.
Oh, you're back. You're back. I'm sorry about that,
Thank
Jared.
you so much.
Well, no, it's not your fault. But I was going to say, there's always something in there.
Yeah, all good.
I mean, it just makes it more special. Not that much more special.
There's no way. Is it working now?
Oh, no. I don't know.
Don't worry.
This will be the last time we
yeah.
try it. I'm sorry.
If it happens again, don't you worry. We'll just close it out. But okay. So just to finish up the Davion conversation.
Oh yeah.
I just wanted to say because we were talking about him and the playoffs and just basically what we want to see from him going forward. Like, you got to be able to shoot the ball, not just play defense at that high level, or you're going to get sat. And when we talked to him this summer, this offseason, he was so open, vulnerable, and just honest about it, and was like, I have to do better. And I know we were joking about like him, obviously shooting around or training with Steph Curry's shooting coach, but he really is wanting to make that difference. And that's what I love about Davion. He doesn't just go, oh, I have to be a better shooter, and talks about it. He does something about it.
Or like some guys, they just bitch about it and they think they should be playing.
Yes.
And I do dig the fact that there's some accountability there too.
Yeah, well, I think that's, part of the reason. I mean, he got better and better in college and led his team to a college championship. He wasn't a highly recruited player and just kept getting better. If Davion doesn't make it in the league, it won't be because of lack of work or lack of preparation. So, that's a real plus right there. Like I say, I think he'll get better offensively. Probably never going to be to the level of his defense. He is a stopper in a league that has very few of them. And like I say, I think with Davion, the thing that always impressed me with him is even as a rookie, you saw teams scheming to get away from him.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's really pretty valuable right there. And, I always remember it's kind of like a Tony Allen in his prime where, before you played Memphis when Tony was there, you had to do things. Okay, we're playing Tony Allen, so we got to, try to run stuff away from him a little bit, or get more screens on guys that you're trying to get open. One screen won't do it, type thing. So, I think he can be a valuable member of a championship caliber team. I do. I've always made the analogy with him of Kyle Lowry. People kind of forget, and being old allows me to remember, but, Kyle started out in Memphis, went to Houston, and about his third year, then went to Toronto, and it's about his fourth year where he became Kyle Lowry. And I mean, until then, he was kind of a small, tough guard that could sort of score, sort of defend, and sort of run a team. And, became obviously a many-time All-Star after that. And I think Davion is on that path. I don't know that he's going to be that. I don't know. It's shooting, as you pointed out, he's got to make the three-point shot. Mm-hmm. And, of course, I think he's got to develop that floater.
True.
A small guard. I really believe, because he can get in the paint.
Yes.
But he's not going to be able to finish consistently. So develop the floater, or like a Mike Conley who's developed the left-hand floaters, which really fools defenders, and he's been doing it for 10 years. So anyway, that's just some thoughts. I think if he's your biggest problem, you got very few problems.
That's exactly right. And I just love some of the highlights from last year where there are possessions where Davion guards every player on offense on one possession. You're just like, this guy is just everywhere. He's just he's constantly moving, disrupting. He's just fun to watch. When we take a step back and look at the West a little bit, I feel like it's a little similar to last year where Denver's clearly the front runner to me again at this point. After that, there's a lot of questions, and you can make a case for Phoenix if they stay healthy, if the Lakers, if they stay healthy, the Warriors. You feel like they're in it, but who knows? We got to see how Chris Paul fits into this. Where do the Kings stack up in your mind? Do you think they have a chance to really make some noise this year and maybe get further than they did last year?
Well, I think they do. I mean, they may not finish third. I think they can be a better team and finish lower and have a better. But I think they're better prepared. Will be better prepared to win a playoff series.
Yeah.
Not saying they will, but it's a work in progress. That's why I've always said that. Hearing fans, we don't want to be eighth or ninth. Because and get beat. It's like, wait a minute, you can't get better till you get in the playoffs. Find out what you got to do. And of course, as we learned last year, I think the ninth team, the Lakers, got to the finals, and the eighth team in the East got to the total NBA finals. So, yeah, you can do it from different spots, that's for sure. But I do think they'll be better prepared. I mean, now the downside to me is that there's some teams that, if they're healthy, are going to be awfully tough to beat.
Oh, yeah.
In other words, that to me starts with the Clippers probably, and of course the Suns. And I'm one of those that thinks Chris Paul will make the Warriors a little better. I really do, for different reasons. Because you guys will tell me if you think I'm finally become senile, but I think that the Warriors can't run like they used to. I think I think
agree
they're
with
going to
that.
I think they're going to become more of a half-court team. Need a little more structure because they can't just run and flow like they once could due to the main guys are older, and Chris Paul will be perfect for that.
Well, yeah.
He'll get them in stuff, and so they'll play him if they play more half-court, and I think they will. There's no better half-court point guard in last 15 years than Chris Paul.
Chris Paul will find them. He will create. No, it's I guess here's my thing, since we're talking about the Warriors now. It's, will he buy in to whatever that position, that role may be? I know right away we go, well, of course he's starting. Okay, so what is he starting over Looney? Are you going small ball to start the game? Or does it depend on matchup? Or is he willing to actually come off the bench? I personally don't see that from just interviews and so many other things, over the years with Chris Paul. But either way, what you just mentioned about the Warriors, I think they can do all that if the buy-in is there.
Yep.
Do you believe that will actually be there? I know we can't predict, but do you think that?
I kind of do, because Chris has to know he's in the last roundup, and certainly, I always say with the Warriors, it starts and ends with Steph Curry. There's no better superstar for adjusting and getting guys involved. I mean, he's a humble superstar if there ever was one, and he knows that he's nearer the end than he was, and he needs more help. So I think there's a lot of reasons why it will work. I wish it wouldn't. Don't get me wrong. I don't want it to work, but I really think that on a 1-year basis, I think he'll buy in. Now, whether he can stay healthy, to me, that's still the bigger issue. I mean, I think if he's healthy, I think the Warriors would be better. I really do. But he's never really been healthy in the last several years, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think the key for them is, you mentioned their age. They got a lot of old guys on the team. But can Chris Paul help Kuminga be better out there? Because I feel like Kuminga's got some upside, and you talk about the youth. They don't have a lot of youth. Yeah. He's kind of one of their younger guys still that has some upside, just hasn't been able to put it all together. I think Chris Paul can be really valuable with some of those guys off the bench to really hold them accountable out there and make them better. So I could see it working. I don't know if I buy them as a championship team, but they're going to be good. I mean, if Steph's out there. Steph's ridiculous. That guy is out of this world. And I do put some stock in the fact that the Poole-Draymond dynamic disrupted things for them last year big time. People forget Wiggins missed a huge chunk of the season with some personal things. He didn't come back until the Kings playoff series. So I think they're counting on, hey, better vibes, play a little different style, add CP3, get rid of Poole, that they'll be in a much better like spot, not only chemistry wise, but just having everyone together in the buy-in.
Yeah, I kind of think so. I mean, to me, I'd simplify it this way: if you were going to start the season and you're just wanting to be better next year, and that's really what most teams are looking at next year. Would you rather have Jordan Poole or Chris Paul?
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
I know who I'd rather have next year.
I think in their situation, I see it. I think the Poole thing, I didn't like the trade because it just felt like, I guess I just have more of an issue that Golden State has had many chances in this stretch run to capitalize and extend this window for themselves. And I think they've missed too many times.
They can't develop players.
Jordan Poole developed, and then it didn't work or whatever, and they had to move him. So Wiseman didn't work. Right?
Mm-hmm.
None of their young guys.
The Wiseman thing is what really set them back.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, Kuminga probably hadn't been what they hoped.
Right.
I think Moody is pretty close to what they expected.
Agreed.
But the Wiseman thing, is disastrous. I mean, it kind of Kings fans can understand, the idea of a second pick of the draft really not being what you needed. That's really it's really set them back. I mean, I always remember the Detroit Pistons destroyed a chance to stay among the elite by having the second pick and took
Darko.
Middlesex and Darko, and when there was Dwayne Wade, and those guys I think were still on the board.
Melo, right? Melo, Wade, Bosch.
Yeah,
they could have had any of those guys. They would have extended it. Yeah.
It's. I mean, I'm kind of like you guys. I think they're going to be good. I don't think they're a serious contender. I think they'd be better off, honestly, if Draymond becomes an off the bench player. I think the sooner they get to that, the better they're going to be. He can still be very effective, but we've seen him slip the last couple of years.
Jerry, I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, how much we dislike when players are asking for a trade, but we do love talking about it, right? I mean, this part of it's fun. So where's Dame going to land?
Where do you hope he lands?
Well, in the East, if he's going to land somewhere, that'd be my, say, Dame, hey, hate to see you go, but go. Do I think he's going to land somewhere? I don't know. I don't see how it could be Miami.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, who do they have to give up?
Right.
The only guys they could give up to get him are guys they can't afford to lose, Butler and Adebayo.
Goodbye, Jerry.
That was on him, right?
100%. What do you mean?
People are going to think we're doing this on purpose.
It's a great bit.
It's not. No,
Watch Jerry disappear.
It's from an editing standpoint. It's not very fun.
No, but it's funny.
It's funny though.
Jerry.
Jerry hit a button that time, didn't you?
I don't know.
It's all right. So we pretty much got to the point. We don't want Dame to go anywhere but the East, but Miami, they don't have the pieces to get it done. I'm with you on that. How about this to wrap this up, Jerry? To sum it up with the Kings, you're optimistic about what they can do this year, and you think they could be in the mix of things near the top of the West again?
I do. I mean, I haven't said that. I'm worried about teams that were below them. Obviously the Lakers were, and I think, you just can't discount them. I'd like to discount them, but I think, with LeBron still has a game left, and I think, Davis can still play at a high level when he's healthy, which is, maybe will happen. And of course, Austin Reeves is really good.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be good. They're not going to be 8th or 9th next year. And the Clippers are probably the most talented team when the two guys who don't play. And so if that happens, and then I'll throw one really out there. The Oklahoma City Thunder.
Jerry, they scare the hell out of me.
They scare me.
Yeah.
They scare me.
I'm excited for them.
Because as somebody's going to join the parade, and they're going to impact things. And I think they could be that team. And it's not to say Minnesota and Utah can't either. Because I mean, so the West is loaded.
Yeah.
And, I mean, and I think if the Kings stay healthy, I think they've got to. I really think they'll be in the top 6, and the record will be as good, and they'll be better prepared in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But and I wouldn't be disappointed with any of that. By the way, I just think the West is so good, and the Kings really were lucky last year in the sense that they were healthy when just about everybody else wasn't. And so you can't count on that every year.
Yeah, the West is legit. And I just think the league in general has more talent than ever. There's not a lot of off nights in the NBA anymore. And I don't know how much that has to do with just pure talent. Even the play-in, I think fewer teams are doing the stupid tank thing. It seems like, although I was mixed on the play-in at first, I think it's helped things, especially toward the end of the season, for teams to push to be more competitive.
Yeah, me too. I hated the play-in at first. I love it now. I love it. I was just an old man, stay off my lawn, don't do it. Now, having said that, I'm the same way. I feel exactly the same way about the stupid mid-season tourney. I'm going to have to be convinced because but the play-in, it's made it's cut down on tanking, and anything can do that can cut down on that silly crap, which teams. It just isn't fair to the fans or anybody.
I'm with you, Jerry. We can't thank you enough for hanging out with us for so long and fighting through all the tech issues.
Thank you.
We miss you.
Yeah, well, tech issues that fail go with me personally. I think that's me. But hey, I really enjoy you guys, as you know, and so anytime, and it's basically my week. Like Mrs. Reynolds says, you do 3 or 4 podcasts a week. That's 3 or 4 hours a week. Even as lazy as you are, you can do that. And so,
and she's probably thankful when we take you away from her and everything too.
He has no problem with it, I'll say that.
Well, we miss you, and we're hopefully going to see you at some point in this season. And we can't thank you enough for taking the time with us, Jerry.
Well, thank you, and really enjoy your work. I mean, really. And of course, when you, Morg, on the pregame, and Deuce, when you're actually on there, I thought you really were good, to be honest with you. I hate to tell you that, because, you don't need a lot of confidence building. but anyway, so anytime, and I can't wait. Be great. It's going to be a fun season.
We appreciate you. That's the one and only Jerry Reynolds.